Can anyone catch them, do you think?
Yes, of course.
Yeah, unbelievable. We didn't expect that.
Hello, everyone. This is your Arsenal podcast, the Away Gooners podcast. I'm the host, Vijay, aka Picasso. We've been doing this for quite some time, and we've got with us a new guest, Daniel. Hi, Daniel. Daniel from the Arsenal Canon podcast. Glad to have you here, Daniel.
Hey everyone, thanks to be here. Really excited. It's early in the morning, but hey, I'm ready to talk about Arsenal.
The love for Arsenal wakes us at early mornings all the time, I guess.
100%. About at this time would be like, at the 12 o'clock kickoff or whatever over there. So this is fine, to be honest. It just feels like we're playing against City on a Sunday or something. But yeah, thanks for having me. Arsenal Canon podcast. I'm the host of it. Check it out if you want. These guys run a great show, so if they take up all your time, it's all good. But if you got the time, check it out. We're on all the places you can listen to stuff. And yeah, I've talked to my British friends about our awesome club. So yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I've listened to a couple of things, and yeah, I mean, most of the listeners would have to. You guys are really good. You've made like your discussions kind of are about Arsenal in the most fan perspective that we can have. So that's a good thing to have. And we've got Bob back with us. Hi, Bob.
Good day, guys.
And Arun from Butter London podcast. Hi, Arun.
Hello.
So let's talk about the game. That's what we are here for. I think the Brighton game. So I'll start with you, Daniel, on that. Let me get a quick reaction on you, right? Like, what do you think of the result, and what do you think of where we are in general?
You see, it's a weird and difficult one in basically every way imaginable, because normally this kind of result to Brighton would be pretty damning, pretty discouraging. But I was just watching a few minutes of your guys' last episode with the Brighton fan, and I mean, even he was full of confidence. They're flying high at the moment. They look sublime. I know we're going to talk about Graham Potter a bit later, but just the way I think he had them out there, Potter, was really impressive to me. And frankly, with the way that the game went, the draw is a fair result. In some ways, I almost think we got a little lucky to get a draw. Because I think Brighton were on top of us for really big chunks of that game, and getting out of there with the draw away from home with the form that they're in, maybe it's not such a bad thing. But the point now is when we get back from this, international break, whatever, we have to get back to winning ways. I mean, this is all fine and dandy if we could win afterwards, but that's a question. You know how it is. We're topsy-turvy. We can be amazing one week, beating Spurs 3-1, and then the next week we're a little bit flat and incredibly underwhelming. So it's a confusing result,
That's the same way I've been thinking too. I mean, if I could put this up to you, Bob, so there are two parts of my brain, and tell me which part of the brain should I trust, right? There's one part of the brain that says on the game day, Brighton were the better team, like Daniel said. They played better, they were set up better, they wanted it more, and coming away with a draw is a good result to have. That's one part of my brain. The other part of my brain goes like, this is the Arsenal we are talking about. We shouldn't be going into a game with Brighton that coming out with 1 point is a positive, no matter what they are, who they are. So there are two parts of my brain that's fighting with each other, like the fan base that we have who's fighting with each other about all these things. So tell me which one is right.
I think the former one is right. We should understand and accept that Brighton are not Tottenham, and Potter is not Nuno. So for us to having come out with the point really feels like a good result because of the form that Brighton are in. And we have to consider ourselves lucky that we at least managed to get a point, without having to come without one, So we feel like it's sort of, I mean, maybe your optimistic brain would think that, you feel like you've lost out the other 2 points, which you should have won ideally. But having seen the game, it feels almost like we had a narrow escape. I mean, we just deserved a point at the most out of this game. If I were to summarize the game in one word, I would say it was a game where Gabriel lost his tooth and Arsenal its foot. So you can't explain any better than this.
Gabriel lost his tooth and Arsenal its foot. I mean, that has been the case for some time, and that's why it is concerning for me, Arun, right? Like, the concerning part for me is not just that we lost 2 points or like we deserve to win as Arsenal in itself, apart from the game and everything, but we seem to climb this one step up and then drop 2 steps down. Like, we won against North London, we made this clean sheets and stuff, and then we go ahead and not take the initiative to go up. Like, we seem to be always there and about. Like, even end of last season, we were always talking about whether we are going to finish above Spurs, whether we are going to finish somewhere in the Conference League, and then we drop down, even though we put a performance together and everything. So it's always like 1 foot forward and 2 foot back. So I don't know if I should be taking confidence from this.
I would definitely I would not lose confidence with this. That's what I would say. I don't know if I would take confidence from this, but it's not something that would make me lose confidence in the progress that we made so far since the first 3 games. So that's a big positive in my head. Before the game began, of course, like with all the high that we had from the NLD win, obviously any fan would have predicted a win. You cannot fault any fan for thinking that we'd be able to go and snatch a win from there. But then once we saw the rains and once we saw how everything was set up, once we saw how nothing was sticking onto the feet of any of the players, at that point I was like, okay, maybe if we manage to get a point from here, that would be a good result for us. We're not playing in favorable conditions. We're playing with like we've been talking about, a new team, a new 11 that has just been playing for 3 games at a stretch. And of the 3 games that we played, we did manage to not drop any points at all. This is the first time that we're dropping points. Now, imagine the situation had Mope got that last goal and done that celebration, and we go into the international celebration with that horrid image in your head. How would you feel? So given all that, I definitely would say that it's not about luck at this point. I would say even like we deserve that 1 point. I would not say we deserve to drop like 2 points in there. I would just say we deserve that 1 point that we got, and then Brighton deserved the 1 point that they got too. There was never a situation where Brighton had way more shots than us, but then anything is a shot, right? Like, there were many shots that were just taken outside of the box, speculative shots. So on target they had 2, we had 2. Yeah, they did threaten, but on a home game in conditions that favor them, you would expect them to threaten more than what they did. So I would never take the argument that we dropped. We should have won a game and we dropped points. For me, it was a point that was very well earned. And to your point of us moving 2 steps forward or like 1 step forward and 2 steps back, that would have been the case had we lost today, or had we lost yesterday. Like that image of Mope, that would have indicated like the 3 steps forward and 2 steps back or whatever it is. But we did not go with that. So for me, in my head, this is definitely like still in the right path.
But let me bring in Daniel into the discussion, because see, those 2 guys have given me like why it's a positive, right? But I'm still not convinced, because after the NLD is the first time when I looked up the table. Like, as Arsenal, we are used to seeing the table up. Like, we are used to looking for results for, what has Chelsea done this week? What has Liverpool done this week? What has City done this week? That's what us being in top 4 would get us, right? But right now, I've stopped doing that in the past couple of seasons. Like, I've not checked that what are the results of these top clubs, because we are not going to be there and about fighting for that top 4 spot or whatever. So I've stopped doing that in some time. And after NLD is the first time when I'm looking around, oh, United dropped points, oh, Chelsea dropped points. That's what I was thinking after the NLD. And then when the Brighton game comes back, it just brings me back to this point where I don't care now, like what Chelsea did, what United did, because we are not going to be there and about. Do you see the point I'm making?
I do. But the only thing I would say is maybe that was just you know, the feeling that like it mattered to us what the other big boys were doing could have just been, you know, that dopamine spike that you got from beating our rivals, you know, because honestly, we're just not really anywhere near them at the moment. And if, dude, it's fucking 7:50. Sorry, can I curse on here? I can't
Yeah,
talk
yeah,
about first.
absolutely,
Go on,
absolutely.
go on.
It's 7:58 in the morning, and I don't want to be saying this right now, but we are just nowhere near those guys at the moment. You know, we were discussing on the Arsenal Cannon podcast in our preseason preview thing. I'd be happy with like 6th, and it's just I just want to vomit while saying that, you know. But it's like it's the all too true reality. We're just not that great at the moment. But I mean, you know, I think for the first time under Arteta's reign, it looks as if we're going this way. Finally, you know, we've got this really nice young team. I love the continuity of the team this week as well, which I know you'll get into in a second. But you know, I think things just look a little promising at the moment, and we just have to take them one step at a time. I trust me, I know the feeling. After that North London derby, I was like, I'll finally look at table. Finally, you know,
that's what I meant. Like we were all like on riding on such a high after that win, especially the way in which we won it. It was dominating, but like it seemed like that adrenaline and that pressing was like they woke up for that big game, and after that was like, okay, you know, we'll just like bring it back down. Let's be more casual. That's how it felt. Like you're right. You're absolutely right. Yeah.
It was again the point that I mentioned earlier, that you know we had acres of space in the midfield. When we were playing Tottenham, we literally could be doing anything, you know, even sleepwalking there, and then no one could even, I mean, come down to get the ball during the NLD. But then it was very different here, isn't it? It was very tricky conditions. It was proper English football, playing on a cold Saturday night under rain. It was heavily pouring down there. I don't think many of them really had a clue in terms of how they should be playing around in such conditions. And players were all over the place, you know, slipping all over, and Brighton was still, you know, able to, you know, punch their progress above in the attacking half, and they were able to make key passes there when we were literally struggling to actually find another player there. I mean, it was the same team, literally the same team, except for Xhaka. I mean, it was the same team which bet Tottenham left, right, and center. But yeah, I mean, look at the contrast.
You just made the point for me. I was about to ask Daniel about like the starting 11. It was literally the same team, and barring Xhaka, and that's the question. We have had this question bandied about in all Arsenal fan media about Xhaka in general. Like, we cannot live with him. We cannot live without him either. When he's there, we are complaining about him. When he's not there, we are complaining that he's not there. So is Xhaka making such a big difference in the side? Or is like the other side is like Xhaka is not great against like teams that press. So even if he is there, we might not have had the same, you know, we might have had the same result. We might have had the same problems again. Do you feel that, or like, what are your thoughts on the starting 11 when you saw this team sheet?
Well, you know, Lukonga is obviously the natural replacement with that injury to Xhaka, which is, like you said, it's unfortunate because, you know, we don't want to, but we rely on him so much, so flippin' much. And I wish that we didn't, because he's such a hot and cold player. He's got an absolutely horrible temper. Maybe it is best with the likes of Neil Maupay on the pitch. Maybe it's best that Xhaka didn't play, you know, because that just seems like a recipe for disaster. But with that said, he just adds something so different to the team than any other player. He just hits those beautiful long balls and so assured on the ball compared to all of our other players. But I've been saying this for a while. We have to figure out a way to move on from Granit Xhaka. There are other players like Granit Xhaka out there, and you know, this injury is super abnormal for him. Usually he's superhuman, plays every game, all the minutes, all the time. But his issue is he can't stay on the pitch. You know, and that's been the issue we have in the past. And now that coupling in this horrifying dovetail of Xhaka just not being available for us is becoming really frustrating. And to be fair, I'm not sure in this game it impacted us too much, because honestly think Lukonga might have been the better option anyway, because like you said, Xhaka does not like to be pressed.
Yeah.
But in future fixtures, that 3-month or so injury, whatever it is, that's gonna be rough to deal with, because after Partey and Lukonga, who is it? Who's next in line? El Neni? Come on, man. I don't want to see El Neni. You know, I don't want to see El Neni on the pitch anymore.
How about a dose of Amen?
I'd prefer that. I would definitely prefer Maitland-Niles over El Neni. I mean, he can't be as bad as El Neni. You know, if he does one forward pass in a match, he's better than El Neni in my eyes. So yeah, it's the whole Xhaka conundrum is difficult.
El Neni was the man of the match when we played Man United last time at Old Trafford. So
yay to that! Yay to that! We'll have a statue for him. We'll send it over. That's all it is.
I agree. Legend.
But on that point, Arun, actually, I'll ask you this, right? I mean, we have two formations with Arteta. One is the 4-2-3-1 where we have the double pivot, and then the other one is where, like we discussed this earlier too, when Partey plays base of the midfield and with Odegaard and ESR above him a little bit, right?
It's a hybrid of 4-3-3 or
4-3-3. You call it whatever, but like I'm just putting the numbers aside. Looking back, I feel like we could have gone with the other formation, especially because Odegaard was not effective in the game in general. But at that time, I did feel that 4-2-3-1 is the way to go with continuation of whatever we did. So this is a contest between, looking back and at that moment in time. And I'm not questioning Arteta's decision, but what was the plan going into the game? Did he want to start with a defensive mindset that we would not concede first and then build on it? That's what his thought was, or was he going for, like, because first we threw that out of the game, for like our initial thought was let's attack them. Like first 20 minutes was absolutely brilliant football. Usually Arteta's team doesn't do that. So I thought, like, those two different factors, like, does the formation indicate what he went with or no?
More than the formation, I mean, like I felt it was the mentality that was shown on the pitch that indicated like what we were really going for. Like the press, like we spoke about for the Tottenham game, was right from minute one. Aubameyang started the press. Like that makes a huge difference when your captain, your striker right up top is starting the press, and then Odegaard joined in, and then we were pressing, like you said, for the first 20 minutes we were like all over, like, pressing and making sure that we were never losing the ball. Come back to the Brighton game, right from the beginning, as soon as it started raining, it felt like the players didn't know what to do. Like, yeah, you have a certain game plan, you are playing a certain way, that this is how Brighton are going to play. They're not going to go out. Of course, they're going to press, but they're not going to pass the ball around like all the other teams do. They're not playing a low block, but at the same time they attack. They defend, like they got all these giants for defenders, and it's like impossible to get the ball past them. So it almost felt like their game plan was more compact and tight, and they knew how exactly to get us out of the game. You pass Odegaard's passing, you block all of Odegaard's passing lines, and that's it. Who's moving the ball around for us? Like he's the one who moves the ball around. You swarm him at every point in time. If you noticed, he was at least double teamed. So Odegaard's passing lanes, I don't even remember how many times did he pass the ball to Xhaka. I think they both drift down the right most of the time. I don't remember the number of times that the ball was actually passed to him.
Actually, there was a stat going around that I'm not sure of the authenticity of it, but Odegaard received 16 passes throughout the game. Received 16 passes throughout the game.
Exactly. Yeah. So when this happens, when your main player who's supposed to be dictating the tempo of the game, like Odegaard, let's be honest, Odegaard is a very good player in the making. He's someone who's like in progress towards becoming like a world-class player. But right now, would you brand him as like one of those classic number 10s, like a Meseros, sort of a number 10 at his age? No, he's someone who just like gets his way out of tight spaces. He still has like dimensions of his game that he needs to develop, and I'm pretty sure that he'd be able to do it and get out of these, like, be able to have progressive passes and influence games more. But right now, given how that he's playing, it was very easy when all of this was, of course, you can blame the conditions only so far. but given the conditions as well, and given how well they made use of the conditions and how we struggled with the conditions, it was obvious. Block or it was like, save the cheerleader, save the world. Is that it? Yeah. Stop Odegaard, win the game. That's how it was, sort of, you know. So that's what they practically did.
For people who
Odegaard
don't
received 18 passes for the whole game.
Yeah.
I mentioned 16, so it's 18. So anyone who didn't get the reference that Arun was making, you guys are too young. It's called Heroes, a TV show called Heroes. If you guys haven't watched it,
a failed TV show called Heroes.
But on that note, Bob. So for me, the problem was not just the what we were going for in a attitude wise. It's more of a gameplay plan wise. I mean, I'm getting my tongue stuck there, but gameplay plan wise, yeah, I got that right now. So Arteta seems to work well when there is a big game, something that he could develop a plan for, a specific plan for against a team. That's when Arteta seemed to have that, idea of how to play. When it's a generic game plan, like if he says, okay, do this, just press, build this formation of play, we are struggling. Is that what it is?
We were literally poor in pressing. Last night as we witnessed, but one thing which worked out effectively well, although there was no end result, was the fact that we were better in counter pressing. I found that the two clear chances that we had in the game were almost as a result of the counter presses. It would have been completely a different story had Smith Rowe passed on to Xhaka, and then things could have been much more different. We would have been happily rejoicing.
Would have, should have.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not even bringing in the countless chances that Brighton created at the other end, because that would be a complete disarray of things. But yeah, still, to just point out, I don't know what Arteta actually set up the team as initially, but then the way that it all panned out was if we actually held back, and then if we had counter pressed them, we could have possibly with the speed and age on our side, maybe we could have outrun many of the Brighton guys, and then maybe we could have nicked in a goal or two. Things could have been much more different. But I don't think Arteta had a clear plan, and we were almost naive when it came to defending. There was real sloppiness, as we could see, in terms of the way that we attacked or defended the ball. It almost felt like they had a free run in the midfield, and we didn't really do enough to press it, or even try and break those lines, their passing lines. We almost let them play. Cucurella was very effective, and Tomiyasu, I felt, was really tested this game. And in fact, I feel this is the first taste of English football for him.
You mentioned in the last podcast that he has not been dribbled past, and
there. And that's gone.
That's gone. Yeah, you just jinxed it.
You can't expect that to be there for a long while, And
but it could have been there for at least this game.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But Daniel, I'll put that same question, right, with Arteta in general, with this game plan and strategy. That's what I have been thinking. These guys kind of counteract me always, like whenever I say stuff like that, like
without truth, buddy.
but the point is, like, Arteta seems to have create a specific plan for specific teams or specific oppositions whenever he wants. But when he's not creating a very special plan for special oppositions, the general plan itself is not something that works always. Does you feel that? I mean, does it make you feel that way?
I see what you're saying, to be fair. Yeah, I think, like, we play one way against not one way, but we play a certain way against big teams, and then we play a certain way against, not so big teams or mid-table teams or whatever it is. So I get what you're saying. Maybe Arteta would benefit from adding some diversity to his game plans. But honestly, I think tactically Arteta holds his own, to tell you the truth. I think we kind of understate sometimes how good Arteta actually is tactically. Unfortunately, I have a friend that supports United, and he
Yeah, you say that out loud for the world to hear that. Come on, go for it.
Yeah, I know. I'm ashamed of it. What can I say? We became friends before I knew he supported United, so don't worry. But he talks to me all the time. He's like, man, I'm telling you right now, I know you guys are talking all that crap about Arteta, but Ole is as tactically apt as a freaking donkey. You know, he doesn't know what he's doing. And
Which is good for us.
yeah. And he tells me all the times he thinks Arteta would do wonders at United. And to be fair, I think Arteta will end up doing really well for us. And a big part of that is because I think he is more than tactically capable of succeeding as a manager. So, you know, when I look at the lineups that we're going in week in, week out, especially this week, I looked at the lineup before it came out, you know, like every other Arsenal fan does, refreshing your feed that hour ahead of time. But and when I saw the lineup, I was like, oh yes, this is like the best possible lineup I could think of. Finally, remember the days of Unai Emery when he would just throw like Torreira in at striker or something? You know, those days seem to be over.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I Arteta started to. I was to be completely frank with you. I do see where you're coming from in criticizing Arteta, because I'll tell you what, man. The like 99% of me was in that Arteta is not good enough boat, and like maybe my left ear was just hanging off it. But he's just like, he's starting to win me back a little bit now, because now I think he has his team. You know, he has his team, and it's starting to show some promise, and he has tactical promise. So yeah.
For me, I think where I come from is because we have seen Wenger do this, right? Like against small teams or even against big teams, he doesn't come up with like strategy for the game, but we would still go ahead and blow away the smaller teams. We don't need a strategy under Wenger to go to a small team like Brighton. And I'm not. This is not a disrespect.
Not a disrespect, but I feel that is very unfair comparison. Wenger had all the time to build what Wenger did. You know, there was an intimidation factor that Wenger had about like 10 years at least, if you could give him to build. We were the invincible, so that means that people are actually looking up, not like at the same eye level. That makes a huge difference, you know, that intimidation.
Damn,
now
Aston Villa fans are talking like they are equals to us
exactly.
now.
Yeah. So see that, you see how things have changed. Like before it was boys versus men. Now we're the boys. We still are the boys, you know.
We the boys, yeah.
Yeah.
And Daniel, I'll hold you on for a couple more minutes for the discussion on the weather side of it. Like we have heard the discussion that it's all like rain played a big part in it, and I get it. We have all new players in it. They don't know the English weather yet, and to go to a place like that, pouring rain, and Bob kind of jinxed it before the game when during the preview part he mentioned, can we do it on a wet night in Amex, and it poured. It became the wettest night.
Bob.
Right. So but how much of, I mean, because for me the question is, right, did the weather really play that big part? Because if you consider the Burnley game, or was it Norwich game, where there was a discussion about the pitch being dry and our passes not reaching our players, I could see that we are not able to pass because the passes are not reaching the players. But I'm not seeing anything like there was no slippage, players were not slipping and falling, or the passes were not going to the place. Nothing like that. We were literally poor. Am I wrong there?
No, I would agree. And you know, the weather was pretty, you know, terrible. And I know we have a lot of new players, like you were saying, coming to England and witnessing that treacherous weather for the first time. But at the end of the day, you play in England, man, you're going to have to get used to rain. And that's just the way it is. And I would agree with you, man. I completely agree. I think it was just, we were poor. We could try to blame the conditions all we want. I think we were outdone by Potter. I think we were outdone by Brighton's players, and that's it. And, you know, considering we were outdone by the players and the manager, like I said at the top of the show, we're probably pretty lucky to get this result, to be fair. So I don't personally blame the condition, man. These pitches, these new crazy pitches have this world-class drainage in them and everything.
Yeah.
No complaining for me. No complaining about conditions for me.
I'm from Vancouver. We call ourselves Raincouver.
Oh.
So that was like,
Yeah.
this is not even rain. Just stop saying that it's rain. Like it's raining almost all the time here. 230 days out of 356 days it rains here. So, well, there you go.
Shout out Canada. Shout out.
So Daniel is Arteta in for now. At least he has been converted. I am yet to be converted. I'm still on the line. Like I'm still thinking like every couple of games that we don't have the result that we want, there's question marks over Arteta. Those question marks are gonna become bigger. And every game that we win against some oppositions, those question marks are going to get smaller. So I'm still waiting for the question mark to, become bigger or like just disappear. So we'll see. But getting back to the game, Arun, so I'll ask you, Ben White getting back to Brighton at the Amex, how do you think he did?
He wasn't too shabby, was he? He was good. He was good. He was pretty good. I would say like he was one of the best players on the pitch for us. There were not a lot. There were not a lot of good players on the pitch for the game. But I think if I were to name 3 or 4 players, he would definitely be there. He definitely had a very good game.
You could name 3 or 4 players from that game.
It's very easy. Gabriel, Ramsdale, Ben White.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So like that's what I said. Yeah. so he was one of the 3 players who were pretty good. Having our defenders and the goalkeeper, like the centre back pairing and the goalkeeper being the best players of the game shows what kind of game we actually had. So these guys were always had to be on their feet, especially like against tricky customers like Trossard and the cockroach moppy that he is. Like always like a cockroach around the ring, waiting for scraps, like that kind of a player that he is. So and I don't think they were ready for Cucurella either. No, he's a new player. Like we had no idea how he was gonna play, and then he did give Tommy a torrid time. Like the first bad game that he probably has, and it's good. It's good that he's facing like all this quality opposition in different conditions right at the beginning of his career. Would give him like a good idea of how he has to play. So coming back to Ben White and the defensive pairing and Ramsdale, I'll just focus on Ben White here. He was very good. He had a lot of he made a lot of interceptions. He was very good in the air. He knew what he had to do to make sure that they were not getting the ball forward, and at the same time he was also trying his best to push the ball, pass it forward for our players to go on and latch onto. It was a different case that our players, like I said in the beginning, nothing was sticking onto their feet. Every time someone got the ball, we lost it right away. At one point, we were not able to stitch in 3 passes together for a good 15-20 minutes. But even during that period, the people who were at the top of their games were Gabriel and Ben White. Mm-hmm. So White for me had a fantastic game. He's not flashy, so he's not the kind of guy who goes for all these blockbuster tackles or blockbuster jumps, if you may call it, the highlight reels ones that Gabriel does. If you see Gabriel, you always see him jumping over the striker. Those are the things that you actually tend to see. It sticks in your head, and when you finish the game, you think more about those than the no nonsense stuff that White was doing on the side. So for me, White had an immense game, and I'm really happy with the progress that he's making. Mm-hmm. It's not just because of you don't need to keep doing sliding tackles or bossing a striker all the time. It's just about how intelligent you are, and he was perfect for me.
No, it's
talking about no nonsense. Did you guys notice the fact that since Arteta has been trying to, once he has set this defense, between all the defenders, that I noticed that if they get a ball towards the box, they just clear it, be it for a corner or for a throw-in. They don't try to muck around and try to take the ball out and find a player, which we often do, or during that point.
It's good that you brought the pointer, because even if they try to do something, there seems to be more method to what they do. Like there's no panic like what we used to see before with the likes of like say Mustafi or like
Oh,
Socrates.
Mustafi, Socrates.
I'm sorry for giving you nightmares at 5 in the morning, but like this is what we had, and like when we're moving to this, it makes it seem more stable. Like we did have a good defensive record towards the end of the last season, but we have to build on that. And with players like White who make more progressive passes, like these interceptions, I'm pretty sure like he's just going to keep improving. I'll be happy if he like slips the radar and he goes about doing his job in a quiet manner that he does. He's effective. I'm happy with that.
So Daniel, do you agree to what Arun said and add on something about Ben White returning to the Amex?
Yeah, I thought Ben White was solid as well, and he just, I think, epitomizes the modern defender. I love the way that Ben White plays, and I think maybe we paid a little over the odds for him because he's English and everything like that. But I think all in all, he was a good signing. And yeah, I really like what he was saying there. Defending, when I played at a really low crap level, is the coach has always told me defending does not have to be pretty. In fact, sometimes it's better to be ugly.
Mhm.
And because you're the guy, what does everyone love about soccer or football, foosball, whatever you want to call it? It's goals. You're one of the dudes trying to prevent those from happening. So naturally, you're kind of this pantomime villain of sorts. And I think that Ben White is just really good at getting the ball away. And I'm liking that we're starting to see this being built in, like you guys said, just being kicked out for a corner, cleared out for a throw. I think Tomiyasu especially loves good old-fashioned defending. You could tell he played in Serie A.
Yeah.
And I love Ben White as well. We talked about this recently on the Arsenal Cannon podcast. This is like the first time in a while that we've had a whole team 1-11 or 32-14, if you like, Ramsdale Aubameyang, that I actually like. We've had so many players, you guys were talking about Mustafi and Socrates there. And I was just like, my gosh, if you weren't wearing red and white, bro, I would be making fun of you every week. But now I yell at you because it's like my team. So yeah.
But what about his partner? Because Gabriel was the one I was actually worried about. If we know from the podcast before in the preview when we were talking about Neil Maupay, Gabriel was my scary point at Arsenal. Who could get red carded? Who could get riled up by Neil Maupay? But he has tempered that down in the couple of weeks that where we have kept all clean sheets. We have kept clean sheets now like 3 games. And at Spurs, we unfortunately we should have kept a clean sheet, but we unfortunately conceded. So he has been immense. In fact, he has taken what I was thinking when this partnership was bandied about was Ben White would be the dominant defender partner of the both, and Gabriel would be the one who would be mopping things up or something like that. He would go into the tackles more and stuff, but Gabriel has been the one who has taken the dominant defender part in it, at least from what I can see. So what are your thoughts on Gabriel? Gabriel, Ben White? Yeah, you could go ahead.
Well, I mean, Gabriel, to put it in this is a term of endearment when you're a defender. Gabriel is a bastard, and I absolutely love it. I think Gabriel was one of, with the price that we signed him for, he's one of the best signings we've made in a while, and he's one of my favorite players on the team. And I like what you're saying there. Yeah, Ben White's kind of that guy that kind of pushes forward, super aggressive, and helping to create attacks and stuff. And then Gabriel just comes in and sweeps up all the danger and stuff. And I don't know if I could see Maupay getting under his skin, to be honest with you, because I think Gabriel actually tends to excel against these. You can't really call Maupay a notorious striker or anything like that.
No, he's more a rile up artist like Troy Deeney and those sort of people, just riling people up just because they could get under someone's skin. Yeah, not a fan of him.
Yeah, well, and that's proof he's good at what he does, and I think Gabriel, kind of like Rob Holding, for example, I think they kind of like those battles because they are a good old-fashioned center back. And when a striker's coming up and trying to start fights with them, start tussles with them, they're like, oh yeah, Oh yeah, let's go, let's go. And I was actually excited to watch that matchup coming into this game because I was like, yes, you know, I love a good fight. Shout out Canada and hockey and stuff. So yeah.
It's my PTSD with seeing Mustafi going into tackles and getting red carded, and like, you know, us having Kolasinac and all those. I think that's what is making me scary of having these. I'm becoming the soft Arsenal fan that we have been always blamed about. But Bob, you love Tomiyasu, and he had a horrible time in the first half. But fair point to him, he understood what his role was in the second half, and it kind of like you didn't see Kukureya that much in the second half. First half he was torrid, but second half he had his moments. But Tomiyasu had his thing, and like Daniel said, he's a no nonsense defender. So tell me more about Tomiyasu.
Yeah, I felt he was below his par against Brighton. You know, I mean, he had a horrible first half, and then he had a below average second half. I wouldn't really say even an average according to the standards that he has set in the first 3 games. He could have done better in some of these situations, but he sort of, I felt that he was nervous, and then he succumbed under pressure when it comes to defending against Kukureya. Kukureya was like really on top of him, and I felt that he had the better of both Tomiyasu in both the halves. I felt little known about fact about Kukureya. He was one of those rarest ones who went on to captain his national team on his debut. How big of a stat was that? I didn't really know about it, but it was a Spanish team. I mean, he was lucky in the sorts where the whole team was quarantined, and then they had to bring in the under-21s, and then Kukureya was made the captain. But that was something which I learned during the game. But yeah, coming back to it, I really felt Tomiyasu was bullied all over. I don't know if it was actually slippery. I mean, there was even an instance where he slipped down, and then Kukureya was over him in trying to send in a cross there, which he nearly succeeded. So overall, I didn't really feel he had a good game, but yeah, I think there are things that he could actually take upon and then sort of improve as one of the aspects that he need to work on, and then try and get better in the next games and stuff.
Oh, I hope so. But Daniel, I have a question for you. Will Thomas Partey ever shoot into the nets?
No, we're gonna get like how Francis Coquelin never scored a goal for Arsenal despite being here for like 20 years. Yeah. That's gonna be what happens with Thomas Partey. Yeah, he's never ever gonna score. Maybe in like an obscure friendly in Vancouver or Montreal or Australia, Tampa. Then we'll see him.
So you are suggesting there's a possibility of Arsenal coming here to either Montreal or Vancouver?
Out to Tampa.
That's exactly what I'm suggesting. They tried to come to Florida, and then they're like, "Oh shoot, we're gonna die of COVID if we go down there." So that's but yeah, no, for sure, of course, and Partey will score when he comes, but never in a competitive fixture. No,
I think there was a specific instruction from Arteta before the game. You're trying to replace the great Xhaka here, so if you get an opportunity to shoot from 30 yards out, just go kick it out. Let's see what happens.
No, but again, Daniel, like not just about the shooting. I think even Partey had a really forgetful game, especially considering like Brighton had the control in midfield, and we never had that control in midfield. And as I was watching the game, Sambi had a different role to play. Sambi was asked to play the Xhaka role, where he was filling up at the left back at the start of it when we had position, like for the first 10 minutes or so. But Partey was playing Partey. He always does, and we have not seen enough of him. I mean, Bob is a closet Atletico fan, so he does know a little bit of Partey a bit, but we haven't seen enough of him for me to give the confidence that there are instances where I get the confidence, yeah, we got a good player in our hands, and then there are instances where I'm going like, do we? So
yeah, that's the trouble with Partey, because you look at him in the North London Derby, for example, different gravy. He looked incredible. He looked levels above. He looked like, we're talking about the boys against men thing earlier. he looked like the man on the pitch. He looked like the world-class player, the headliner of the game. And then the next match, he just gets completely rolled over. Yeah. And then he'll pick up an injury and he's out for a few weeks. I almost wonder if Partey just can't handle the physicality of the Premier League at times. No. Because he just, I'm here to tell you right now, because I mean, his injury record is concerning. Obviously, he didn't pick up an injury in this game or anything. And then he goes in and out and flashes like you were saying. He's world class one game, he's out of it the next, and it's concerning when you're talking about a midfielder that costs £50 million or whatever it was. You want Partey to be the man, and
not just that, right? He is one of the experienced one on the pitches. Like he's always like with him and Aubameyang. That's whom we are looking forward to. Like when these, and that's a pattern that I have been seeing, that when these experienced players have a better game, that's when Arsenal seems to have a better game. No matter what the kids do, like even if Xhaka and ESR has a good game, we're not gonna look that good if these experienced folks don't pick up, like especially Xhaka, Partey, and Aubameyang. If those three don't perform, we don't look good. We get a result sometime, but we don't look good.
Maybe you can add Tierney to the list as well.
Yeah, but Tierney is still young. I mean, he has played a lot of games, and he being tough and everything. We feel that.
No. In terms of like when he has a bad game, we have a bad game.
Yeah, I agree.
So, Bob, you were about to counter Daniel's claim that Partey is running hot and cold. Go ahead.
The interesting thing to note that Partey during his time at Atletico has just missed a handful of games during his entire 5-year time there.
7 games or something, right? Yeah.
Yeah, no, literally you could just count it out. That's how ever reliable he was. And then he's been a threat as always. What I find interesting is the fact that I don't know where he has actually left his shooting boots, probably in Spain, I would think. None of the shots are even going on target, even the ones that he had clear sight on goal. It was a dreadful decision for him to take that free kick in the first place. I don't know what mind he had in that. But yeah, I feel there is actually a lack of confidence in his usual game, because this is not the Partey that I've seen in Atletico so far. This is not something which Arsenal wanted, or they warranted him to pay. Sorry, they warranted Atletico 50 million that he cost. So, but I just have a glimmer of hope that the best of Partey is yet to come. And if we keep progressing along this way, if we keep solidifying ourselves at the back, then we could see a base foundation for us to see the Partey that we all love to see. The ones that really showed us what he was worth at Atletico.
Mm-hmm. But moving away from Partey, Arun, though, like the kids actually, Xhaka and ESR, they had flashes of good things. They were the ones who had shots. They are the ones who tried creating, although ESR should have passed instead of shot and all those things. But that has been happening. Like those two have been having that chemistry, and that's been rewarded by Arsenal by giving them number 7 and number 10. But still, how far are these kids from being the players that we want? They are making progress. I'm not questioning that, but how far are they from being the people who could take a game by the scruff of a neck? Because we cannot expect Aubameyang to become that player. Like he has been that player. We need someone else to take that mantle up. Like this is the players that's going to take the game by the scruff of the neck. And it's a great shout out to have these two. So yeah.
How far? That's a question that all of us are looking for an answer for, and I think all of us would love to say yes. Next game, they're going to take the game by the scruff of the neck, and they're going to change everything. But unfortunately, football doesn't work that way, does it? So I do not have a definite answer. Like I do not know if they're going to be able to do it by come the end of the season. A realistic target would be like the experience that they gain through the season, playing with a defined set of players, the same players week in and week out, under a formation, under like specific instructions that are not repeated on a week, like that are not changed, not repeated. So that are not changed on a week-on-week basis. That gives you the consistency. You can be a fantastic prospect, but if you're not consistent, you're not going to get to where we want them to get them to, right? So for me, the basic minimum would be end of the season for them to be able to like get to the point where they can take better decisions. It's not about like your talent; it's about your how you know what to do in the right instances. Like the thing that we were talking about, ESR with a bit more experience would know how to get that ball to Xhaka at that last instant. Here, like he hesitated a bit, which gave the Brighton defender the time to actually cover the space that he could have used for a pass there. You know, so a Mesut Ozil maybe in his prime could be able to pull that pass, but to get to Mesut Ozil's level, Mesut Ozil at his prime was one of the best players that the world had ever seen, history of football had seen. So we're comparing like an ESR who's just started playing at the top level. He's not played for the international team yet, you know. Though he's a good prospect, if you want him to get to that level, you need to give him that time to be able to get that vision. And Odegaard, we've been talking about Odegaard. He was not able to do anything in the game either, you know. So out of all the people who played outside of Ben White, Ramsdale, and Gabriel, I believe that it was these two who had like sort of a decent game. No one else was in the picture at all. These two were trying to make things, but then it didn't. It didn't yield the results at the end, but like the effort was coming from these two, you know. So for them to be able to take a game by the scruff of the neck, it depends a lot on how well we play this season, what they get out of it. And I would say I would realistically give them the time at least until the end of the season to be able to like, you know, before we start putting more pressure on them and start expecting more from them, for them to be like how Van Persie was, like, you know, or how I'm not even going to the levels of Andre Rivera. No, that those are unattainable at this point. Let's be realistic. If you can set like say a Nasri level or a Fabregas level, yeah, or an RVP level, that is attainable. Maybe like, you know, sometime I would say towards mid next season, end of next season. But this season, it depends a lot on how well we progress this season. Yeah.
Just a small point to ponder. If you look at what Sancho has done his time at United so far.
But no one talks about it. You know, no one talks about it. They paid 80 mil for him. He hasn't done anything. But he's still 20 and he can take his time, right? He's United. He's not wearing an Arsenal shirt, so no one talks about it.
But Daniel, one more thing actually I tried to avoid talking about it is that Aubameyang. And this might be the harshest way to describe it, right? But Arsenal, in the 7 games that we have played, 7 or 8 games that we have played, right? We have scored only in 3 games.
Yep.
And that's we've been talking about clean sheets and everything, but of those games we have scored only in 3 games. And our star striker, who is our captain of the club, who we have given a huge amount of money to play for us, and he has mentioned that he wants to be the legend at Arsenal and everything, he's not backing up his stock.
No, he's not. And, you know, another harsh way to double down on what you just said is we're looking for a goal in this game and he comes off in the 72nd minute. You know, when you're looking for a goal and you're taking off your star striker, it means your star striker is not doing something right.
I think to many of us, it was a sigh of relief to see him leave. Seriously,
I was expecting him to leave earlier.
But yeah, I think I would have, like Arun said, you know, probably would have brought him out earlier. He was completely isolated. I mean, except for the time where he actually hit the outside of the post. That should have probably gone in, you know, that was a fabulous effort. But yeah, I think apart from that, there is absolutely, in fact, in the last 30 minutes or 20 odd minutes that Lacazette played, he had a better impact than what Auba had.
So yeah, go ahead, Daniel. Finish your thought on that one.
So yeah, I by the way, I agree. I thought Laka was really promising when he came on, and I think he's been very hard done by as of late for not getting more game time. Yeah, with Aubameyang, it's a difficult one because you want to keep him in the team and because you want him to score goals, but he just has these matches where he's just completely anonymous. And to be fair to Aubameyang though, this has been the case for quite a while now under Arteta, and I almost wonder if it's just a symptom of the way that we're playing more than anything, because we look at the first game of the season. Our forwards didn't exactly shine that match either, and Aubameyang wasn't even on the pitch. And I know they're super young, but still, I mean, unfortunately, we're not really, to put it in simpleton terms, like I do everything, we don't really know how to formulate attacks that well at the time. We're a lot better at defending than we are attacking. Never thought I'd say that as an Arsenal fan. And
it eventually had to happen at some point, right?
Yeah, I guess it
conceding
was
goals.
inevitable. Yeah, stop conceding, then never score one again. And yeah, I think Aubameyang still has a lot of talent. I think he has a good mentality. We saw him in the North London derby score that nice hook goal. I love that finish, and then the Thierry Henry celebration, obviously after. So I think he's got that elite mentality, and if you give him chances, he's going to score goals. But the thing is, we've got to give him chances. Aubameyang is a poacher. Like there's some saying somewhere about leopards and spots. I don't know how it goes, so I'm not going to try to say it. But Aubameyang will always just be a goal scorer exclusively. And if Arteta's team isn't designed to have a guy like that up front, then we've got to find a different solution, because it's not fair to Aubameyang, because we're basically just not playing to his strengths.
That's interesting. But the other players, to go to the other extreme, Bob, that Ramsdale had another very good game, which means we were under a lot of pressure, which is not good. But still, as a keeper, he had a very good game. And we have talked about Ramsdale enough. Just a couple words about Ramsdale, Bob, from you.
Ramsdale earned that 1 point for us. If not for Ramsdale, then we would have been battered for sure. Yes, he was. I mean, he's starting to show more of his commanding abilities, and then he's not actually being bullied over, as we saw against the superiorly defending opposition. I mean, especially when they are all taller than him, and then they're all combating all the corners over. So Giants, yeah, more praises to Ramsdale. I'm just happy that Arteta has actually pursued with him, and then he is actually reaping his trust in a way. So yeah, I mean, he's the man of the match for us today.
So the last question I have about the game, Daniel, is that was any of those penalty shouts from Brighton a penalty, and did we get away with one?
I don't know, to tell you the truth. I did not see it, as our Wenger would
Daniel, no, your answer should either be no or I did not see that. It should never be I don't know. Remember that. No, they don't get bets against us. Yeah.
True. I didn't see it. I didn't see it.
Yeah, that's it. It's simple. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we sometimes the referee actually helps you out. Sometimes it seems like they're doing everything they can to, go up against you. So I don't really like to dwell too much on refereeing decisions. Maybe we got away with them. I don't know. But I'm sure we'll be complaining about a referee once we get back from international break or something. We're just about to play against who is it? I think it's Palace. So we're going to be playing against
Zaha.
We're going to be playing against Zaha. So we know there's going to be at least 30 penalty shots in that game, So how about this? I'll save my complaining about referees and penalty decisions until after the international break.
The Crystal Palace game, yes.
Absolutely. So I think that's enough dissecting of the game that had nothing in it. So thank you guys again for joining in. And Daniel, just let the viewers know about your channel once more, and like where to get in touch with you on Twitter or Instagram, wherever you are available. For
sure, yeah. Absolutely. I had a lot of fun recording today, guys, and thanks everyone for watching for sure. You can find my blog on Twitter or at Instagram. On Twitter, it's at, hold on, the acronym's weird, WLYA, like We Love You Arsenal blog. Or on Instagram, the man Alfie runs the Instagram. It's we.love.letter U Arsenal, something like that. We love you, Arsenal, again on Instagram. So find him. He'll be happy I plugged that. I deserve a raise for that, ladies and gentlemen. And then Cannon Podcast, Arsenal Cannon Podcast on Twitter. That's at Cannon_podcast. If you like what you saw from me, feel free to give me a follow on Twitter as well. That's at Daniel_FINTON. So yeah, once again, appreciate your time today, guys. I had a lot of fun recording. You guys follow me on Twitter too. I'd love to stay in touch.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Absolutely. It's been really fun to have you on the show and to hear more of your thoughts. You brought more positivity than I have, and that's a big thing. So,
Well, Vijay, it's easy for anyone to be more positive than you are. You just gotta be a little positive.
That is true. That is true. But after a Brighton game, to have that much positivity from you guys, I mean, it helps. It's my Sunday morning, and to have a positive Sunday morning is a good way to start. Thank you, guys. Thank you for joining in. And for the viewers, please do like, share, and subscribe. And please do follow Daniel and the Arsenal Cannon Podcast. Thank you so much. See you. Bye.
Thank you. Good day. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.